talk about how to clean your paint gun. So after every use with your paint gun, you should be cleaning it. Alright, that helps it work better, obviously, keeps it intact, and keeps stuff from building up in there that's going to wreck your subsequent paint jobs. Especially if you're using the same paint gun for a lot of things. If you go and spray color through your paint gun, don't clean it properly, and then try to clear coat with it, you could end up with a heck of a mess. So the first thing that you do, once you've got the paint out of your gun when you're finished spraying, is pass something through it to clean it out while you've still got it hooked up to the air. Okay? So if you're spraying waterborne acrylics, you can do water. You can just pass water through it if you've got the right type of gun. Make sure you're not running water through a gun that's designed for solvent-based paint. One of the ones with the metal cups and everything. That'll cause it to corrode and rust and all sorts of other stuff that you don't want to have happen. But anyway, the first thing you're going to do is rinse it out. So if you're using solvent-based paint instead of water-based, then you're going to need something a little stronger. For example, paint thinner works great for enamels and sometimes for urethanes. Lacquer thinner for lacquer, obviously. And I know this isn't the official container, it's actually a metal water bottle, but methanol. Methanol is one of my personal favorites. It's alcohol-based, works great for polyurethane and for cleaning out water-based paint when water isn't enough to get it out, which is actually quite frequent. And it's not as strong as acetone, so it doesn't make a mess of your seals and stuff if you're not careful. Anyway, that's the first thing you do. Run some of that through there until you're not getting paint anymore. It just looks like you're spraying clear fluid. Then, if you want to be thorough, which of course I recommend, you have to take your gun apart and clean it. So for that, you're going to need your solvent or some water, probably a solvent for this, and Q-tips. Those are usually your best bet. And, for example, a paper towel or some kind of towel to help you clean. So, now, as I frequently do, I'm going to bring the camera in closer, take this thing apart, and show you how I go about cleaning it. Okay, so I've been spraying water-based paint through this, and I'm going to be using methanol to clean it, because water doesn't always do the trick. Whoa, carefully. Now this is already cleaned out, essentially. At worst, just give it a wipe. Get some methanol on your cloth or some water, and you might take out just a little bit of paint. I was spraying black sealer through here last, I think. And by I think I mean I know, because it was very recently. So there's really not much to that. What you want to do is make sure that you get the bottom part of it clean, where it goes into the gun, because that's the hardest place to look at. Alright, now on to the gun itself. So you've got the spot here where the paint comes in. What I like to do is begin by just disassembling the whole thing pretty much, so I can get into all the various areas of it as easily as possible. So you want to take off your fan cap, which will frequently be attached to the ring that's holding it on, but in this case it's not. Take out the back end and remove the spring. Now I went over how to assemble these things in my video about how to set up your spray gun, but you should be able to kind of get the idea of what I'm doing for this video. Just going to quickly get my nozzle wrench here and remove the paint nozzle. Now you don't always have to do this, but in order to get a nice thorough cleaning, it is the best way to go. Okay, so take out your nozzle. And that's as far as we need to disassemble it. So now what I like to do is take a paper towel, or in this case a shop towel, get some of my solvent on it, and make sure that I have my fan cap clean. Okay? Sometimes, because the air is flowing through these holes in the sides and the paint's coming through the middle, they blow a little too much and paint gets on the opposite side, which, since it's coming out of both, means paint gets on both sides and builds up there, and that can wreck your fan. So you want to make sure that you get those clean afterward, especially when you're working with clear coat. That stuff hardens on there pretty good. And for aesthetics, I like to just make sure that the whole thing is nice and shiny. Alright? On very rare occasions, you will need to clean out inside there. A lot of paint guns come with cleaning tools and stuff for that, or you can just use a thin piece of wire. Or you can soak these because they're metal. Just drop them into some solvents overnight and let all that paint dissolve. Alright, if you've got paint on the tip of your nozzle, sometimes it's easiest just to clean it off while it's still in the gun, but it really doesn't matter. You can take it out and clean it off after. So the paper towel or shop towel is a good way to clean off the tip on the front, but you also want to make sure that you're cleaning the inside, and that's why you use Q-tips. Right, so soak the end of your Q-tip, get it saturated in the solvent, and just clean out the inside. It's kind of like cleaning your ears, except that this thing's more expensive than your ears. Probably. This is very important, alright? The inside of your nozzle needs to be clean and smooth so that the paint can pass through it properly and atomize properly and come out evenly, and pretty much everything important that you're worried about with a paint gun, this piece affects it. So, well, except for the fan. So make sure that you're getting that nice and clean. If you need to, you can soak that in solvents as well, because once again, it is made completely of metal. Alright, next up we have the needle. Now, not only will your paint spray out weird if you don't get your needle completely clean, but it can cause it to bind in the channel that it slides through if paint hardens on it. So it's really important, well, that you get everything clean, but the parts that I'm going through at the beginning here, the nozzle, the needle, the fan cap, those are going to be the ones that will really mess things up if they're not clean. The needle, now I'm not going to do this in this video, but I actually take metal polish and polish this thing right up to make it as smooth and slippery as possible so that it slides really nice and easy through the packing nut, and so that the paint flows over it as smoothly as possible. So make sure your needle's good and clean. Now this is the part that isn't always 100% necessary. A lot of body shops and stuff, they don't take apart their guns, okay? Or at least not very often. They just hook them up to a cleaner that flushes solvents through them. So we're doing a more thorough job than they typically would. But then again, they use a different gun for everything. So now that you've got this open, all you're going to do is just take your Q-tip, go in through the top. You'll be able to see it through the front, not in this video, but that's because my camera isn't as good as your eyes. Go in through the top, make sure you get that all cleaned out, and the same through the front. They have paint guns that are more expensive that have all pretty much smooth surfaces on the inside that are easier to clean. But if you're taking your paint gun apart anyway, there's really no need to get into that kind of expense, because it's not that difficult to clean it out. You just use a Q-tip. Alright, now, if this gets jammed up, if you haven't cleaned it in a while, you can soak it in solvents, but I wouldn't recommend it. And if you're going to, don't do it for too long. There are seals in here made of Teflon and plastic. Teflon is plastic, never mind. There are seals in here that will run into trouble and possibly even dissolve if you leave them in strong solvents for too long. For example, if I were to drop this into acetone for a day, God only knows what I'd come back to. So you want to avoid doing that if you can. And the best way to avoid having to do something like that is to just clean your paint gun carefully and quickly. It doesn't have to be quickly, but it is quick after every use. Right? I just used this thing. I spent 2 minutes flushing some water through it, and you've seen me do the complete clean job on it. Very thorough. And now it'll be ready to use again on whatever kind of paint that I see fit. I don't have to worry about it getting contaminated because I've got all my previous paint out of it. So in a couple seconds here, and by a couple I mean a few, in a few seconds, it'll be back together. Yeah, just because I said that, it's taking me a long time. And ready for another use. So that's all you need to know to be able to clean out your paint gun after you've used it and save yourself some trouble down the road. And of course, that's always a good idea. So I highly recommend that you take a minute after you've done a spray job or even one color, pull your gun apart, clean it out. It doesn't take very long, it's very easy, and it's always going to be worth it for you in the long run. If you have any questions about that, let me know. I hope this was helpful. Thanks for watching. Have a good one.